has tied with Origen here in the studio, but we're going to send it over to QuickShot to hear what he and Schalke's coach Nif has to say about it.
It did win both games. Stress, you'll have to talk about that a little later. For now, though, I am joined by Nif. Congratulations on winning at least the second game. To be honest, it feels like it should have been a 2-0. From the coach's perspective, what went wrong in game one?
Yeah, it should have been a 2-0, but what went wrong was basically that we played too aggressive when we shouldn't, and we played too passive when we should play aggressive. So when we had the Baron, for example, we waited way too much time to use it. Like, we used one quarter just to base and then push, and then we overstayed. Like, Fox tried to flash in, I think it twice even, and I think that just cost the game. I mean, Asia Sevilla is really strong late game, so we had a time ticking kinda, and that's what we removed in the second game as well, and then I think it was easier to close out.
It's actually very interesting you mentioned that, removed that in the second game. I was sitting with Youngbuck and Yamato doing the picks and bans, and they liked the Schalke draft in both games, but they were debating Irelia versus Jax for game two. Is that a debate that you had? I can tell by your smirk it was.
Yeah, we talked about it, and I think Irelia would have been really good. So you have a little bit more team fighting pressure than Jax. I think Jax is more where you actually want to split. But then we decided to go with Jax because I think he was really good as well, because you could just... They had a lot of auto-attackers, so you could just stop them with your E, and then you still had a lot of teamfight pressure. And I think Steve felt more comfortable on Jax.
Yeah, and you also know Origen's going to let you get to late game at some point, right? So that helps out. I think I have to ask about the struggles last week. It was a very rough week. There's some people on Reddit even saying that, you know, Schalke, maybe they're still tilting. Do you think that's fair? You know, what was week 6 for you guys in terms of the 0-4?
I think the first game took the team really hard. I think they tried to like brush it off or whatever, but I think they took it really hard, and it wasn't easy afterwards. I think the first game we played really well, but then we just threw it. And the second game, I don't know, we just did so many mistakes. We were not in our game, we were not focused. And basically the same happened against Splice. The first game was good, but we didn't pull the trigger enough. And then the second game was really bad. I think it just took over the games. And today was a new fresh week, and I think we did much better.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be the case, because again, it feels like it should have been a 2-0. I've not had a chance to speak to you yet this split. If we step back and we look at all of the weeks up till now, Schalke's really been quite impressive. One of the teams that I think was expected to be sort of middle, maybe lower middle of the table, but you seem to be mostly performing above that. What are the expectations for you and the team looking into these last 3 weeks of games?
I think the expectation is still 6th place, like playoffs for sure. So if we keep up the level and we don't pull another 0-4 week, then I think we are secured. But we also have to get some wins. We have too many ties, which gives us not that many points if you compare to UL or Giants, where they get a lot of wins. So we have to like push harder and try to secure the wins, because that's what's going to push us in the playoffs. Yeah,
definitely the case, especially with how tightly the middle of the table is. I do have a tweet, actually, that I'd like to ask you. It comes from @ThanatosStream. I'm not sure how to say that. Which are the most important things to highlight, to do or to say between games of a best of 2 or best of 5? We actually heard you talk about reviewing game 1 when you go into game 2, but what specifically do you talk about with your team?
Okay, so what's really important is if the enemy does something cheesy or something level 1 related, any wards that the team doesn't see, because you have the replay now, like, so you can actually see everything they do as well. So you have to highlight for them so they know what to expect. And I think you have to prepare that for them. So you go over the game fast and say, okay, this we have to do different. But then you just forget the game and then focus on on the next game, because it doesn't matter if you lose or win. The next game is always what matters. So just talk about the next game, prepare pick and ban already, like myself, and then just ask them if they think it's good or not, and then agree and find a solution fast.
I really like that. One last question before I let you go. Who has the final say when it comes to picks and bans? If Fox says, I want to play a champion, or Steve says he wants to play something, do you get to overrule them?
I have the final say, but I believe in my players. So if they say, okay, I really want to pick this because it's good, then I trust them. But if they want to pull out like a really stupid pick, then I obviously deny it. So, but usually I trust them in their picks.
Who made the final call, Jax or Aurelia?
That was Steve, actually.
Steve?
But I mean, it was up to debate, right? I think both were really good, but then you go with what the player is more comfortable with, and so he does perform better then.
Fantastic. Steve, Nif, thank you so much for the interview. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hopefully we can clean up some of that play looking forward. For now, we're going to head over to the cast list. When we do, update for you guys, Vitality have 2-0'd Roccat over on stream 1. Fnatic versus H2K is being started. We will be going to that after our PogChamp is announced. Over to you guys, Pyra.
All right, well, we'll talk a little bit more about our PogChamp. Thanks again, QuickShot, insightful interview there. Our player of the game is none other than Mr. Rales, who was pretty much popping off the calling as soon as he could.
Yeah, good play from Rales. Kept himself safe for a lot of the game. A lot of damage came out from overall. Really has been, I don't want to say playing second fiddle to Fox, because I think they've both been good in their own right, but I still think it's fairly quiet, and it's been my one criticism perhaps of Rales for a while now, but I'm glad to see he had a good game here, was able to output a lot of damage, triple kill at the end, kind of topping it all off.
Well, he's always been a very quiet player in EU. He has like a lot of experience, but you never have thought of him as, no, he's the primary carry. Now, yes, he is still playing second fiddle to Fox, but he's come into his own in a way that we hadn't really seen from him before, and I think this team has really enabled him to do it. He's pairing very well with Spraddle, and that's something that the teams can definitely pop the kid champagne over.
Yeah, we'll see whether it's a little early for that, for now at least. Speaking of his lane opponent for this game, Toaster, first appearance on the LCS stage. I think he can have his head held high. Gets a win with Origen in game 1. 2 games of Sivir. Looked pretty decent as a player. My difficulties are just on, again, Origen shot calling as a unit. And that's a team thing, not something Toaster's going to instantly come in and fix. So I'm looking to see where they can go from here, because there is potential. We're not done in the split yet. So maybe a couple of points here and there will rescue Origen slightly. But I think for debut performance was pretty solid.
Yeah, got to give him a lot of credit, and really good decision-making individually, but the team still has to get it together. Looking forward to see how they do in the last remaining weeks of the split. They've still got some tough teams to face off against, but it's a good proving ground, and if they can survive, if they can get just outside of the promo relegation zone, it's still going to be hard to do. Even in that, I think this team still has the potential to be able to survive that gauntlet of challenger teams, even with the likes of Misfits coming up.
Yes, I think Origen are likely, if they are still in relegation zones, they should be out of that 10th spot. I don't really see a world where Origen are right down at the bottom. So they should at least have a couple of fallbacks on it. And I feel like the rest of the challenger series is maybe not strong enough to handle a team like Origen, because we've seen Origen take it to a team like G2 picking up a win against them in their series. We've seen Origen actually still putting up results. So it just seems to depend on how the early game goes for like SOAS and Amazing. They can take over a game completely, but all of a sudden, sometimes they have these games where they don't feel confident in the early game and nothing really happens. And those are the dangerous games for Origen, really, in my eyes.
Well, sometimes the late game decides everything, as we saw in the first. But that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles every now and again.
Yes, that is sometimes how it works. For Origen, if they can get to 90 minutes and win every game like that, that'll be great.
We will be very exhausted if that happens. I think we won't be the only ones either. That's definitely the case. So, all right. That was our last game of the night here over in the studio. Now, as we send it over to EU LCS 1, be sure to stay tuned after Fnatic and H2K for a special behind-the-scenes look, after Game 1, that is. And go ahead and check that out on facebook.com/LOLesports.